You're all nice and cozy in there? Huh? Good morning. Welcome back to Haywire Homestead. It is 24 degrees with wind chills of 13. So we had lots of rain. So pretty much all of my petals are freezing. Hi, sweetheart. This is the new girl we just picked up yesterday. This is Cinnamon. Hi, Cinnamon. They've got plenty of hay to keep them warm. We're already heading to the hay feeder. Thankfully, we do have tank heaters for our tanks to keep their water from freezing, so that way they stay hydrated. Now, for the chickens, we use rubber tubs. Oh, you're not going out with me, big girl. Oh. So we used a rubber tub for the chickens, so we just flip it over and pop the frozen ice out and refill it as needed. I'll probably be out here a couple times today doing that. I'm gonna start giving everybody their breakfast. And actually, oh, you know what? Let's take a peek at mama goat. Remember from the last video, we had a mama that was having trouble accepting her babies and allowing them to nurse. Now yesterday, things seem to be going much better. I actually did look on the cameras and saw her nurse the babies twice without us being in here. But later yesterday evening, she was running from them again and wasn't letting them nurse. So let's see how they're doing. Hey, babies. Hi, babies. Get your mama. Good thing is they're moving really good, so they can chase her around a bit. So I'm not coming out here and forcing the issue quite as much as I was. So there has been some improvement, but you see there, she's doing the same thing, saying nope, but she is smelling them. She actually lays by them when they lay under the hay feeder or they go in that little kid hut. She'll actually stay over by where they're at, which before she'd stay completely opposite of where they're at. So we're making progress. We're slowly getting better. All I had to do was hold her still for 1 second, and then she immediately goes, oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. So improvement. Whoops. Good old frost-free hydrant. What we do is flip it over. We can even step on it if need be. Bust the ice out. And we can rinse it. Put some water back in there. Besides the cold, the real purpose of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was culling from your herd. Something that's kind of hard. And culling is done for a myriad of reasons. It could be financial. Oh, well, first of all, culling means removing animals from your herd, your flock. You can even cull plants if they're not doing well. So a couple different reasons that people might cull animals would be financial. They've got too many, they can't afford them. Another reason they may cull is temperament. Health-wise is a big one. Not productive is another big one. Genetic defects. Say you've got a goat that, has a genetic defect, whether it, something that's not desirable. A big one might be teats that aren't correct, so it makes the baby hard for a baby to nurse. And you wouldn't want that on either side of your genetics for producing a baby. You'd want correct teat structure, so that way the baby should also produce teat structure. You're trying to produce a product that is as good as, if not better than, the parents. So I just yesterday had to cull from my goat herd. I've culled chickens before. Most of the time with the chickens, though, the reason why I'm culling is because they're sick. And that's actually dispatching them, putting them down. But for the goats, culling would mean that I'm selling them, or I'm selling them to someone else, whether it be to a pet home, so they're not going to be producing offspring, or we're going to have to sell at a livestock auction. So this is the very first time that I ever took animals to a livestock auction. Most of the time they've wound up in pet homes, and we've not had to cull too much, so we've been pretty fortunate. But sorry, Hashimoto brain. Okay, so I had 2 does. Both of them were registered, good papers, a lot of good things about them. Very sweet temperament, good mommies. They both had kids last year. They were good mommies. Babies were good. However, both of them had issues. They had issues with getting hoof rot. They had issues with high worm loads. Even after we would treat them, we would do fecals and make sure they were clear, and we would do all the things we were supposed to do, and they'd wind up with a high worm load or coccidia. And then they would lose weight, and then we just couldn't seem to get the weight back on them. They just never gained weight. The one for over a year, I mean, she still at this time, even though I was giving them extra feed and everything, and she wasn't gaining weight. She was still thin. And then we put them in with the buck. The one wound up miscarrying in less than 30 days, and we had that checked out. Couldn't figure out any reason that we needed to treat anything. Let her heal, put them both back in the buck because neither one of them was pregnant. Everybody else was already bagging up and showing signs they would be kidding, when they were supposed to. So we put them back in again for another 45 days. 45 days is because goat cycles you're catching 2 cycles in case you missed the first one. So we put them back in again. We just had them checked on Wednesday. Wednesday we had them checked by the vet. They were not pregnant. So I had to make a decision. And it's not easy because I liked these goats. They were very sweet. They loved to be petted. They loved to talk to you. They weren't rude. They didn't butt anybody. They were just sweet, wonderful goats, right? But from a production standpoint, when you're on a homestead and you've got to buy feed for these animals, and you've got to pay for vet care if they get sick, and they're taking up space where a better quality animal can be, you have to make a decision. So unfortunately, I took them to an auction yesterday, and it was rough. And I guess I just wanted to bring that up because some people don't think about that. When you have livestock and you're producing livestock and you're breeding livestock and they're not a pet. Although I love my goats, I truly do. How can you not love them? They're awesome. But from a production standpoint and a reality standpoint, you can't keep them all. And we had to make that decision, and it was not easy. And I think when people have livestock, you have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared for not keeping those ones, right? Not fun. All right, it is cold. It's pretty breezy. I'm gonna shut this off. And then I am going to head inside and get something hot to drink. Maybe some chocolate tea. Chocolate tea sounds kind of good. Morning, Biscuit.